Welcome, everyone, to People on Dating. I'm your host, Will Morales. And for those of you who are tuning in for the first time, this podcast is about the ups and downs of dating and how to navigate through it. Today, my guest is Koani Requilman. Koani is a public speaker, relationship expert. He's been in business since 2014, and he has helped many men find their dream women. Well, Koani, thank you so much for being on People on Dating. How are you, sir?
Not too bad. How are you doing today, William?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you so much for being on. So, Kwani, tell us a little bit about yourself. What was that journey like to get here to today? You know, we're talking about relationships dynamic. How did you get here? What was that journey like? I know it's a loaded question. Maybe you could give us a little quicker version.
Yeah. So for me, my dating journey kind of started off. So when I was 19, I was dating this one girl. And I'm like this young kid, right? And in high school, it's kind of funny. Like I had a lot of women like attracted to me. So I had like a lot of like female attention, but I didn't know how to like properly like capitalize that on, right?
Yeah.
So when I was 19, I used to live in Hawaii. And at some point, I was reading a bunch of good self-development books. And so reading through these books, I was always interested in psychology. I was always interested in just like improving myself. And I didn't like the position I was in. My father, I love my parents, by the way. They're great, fantastic people.
Yeah.
My father, though, he was like an alcoholic and my mother was like a hoarder. So I saw myself being in this type of position. I probably wasn't as like this articulate that I am now. But when I was younger, I started to see, I'm like, look, I'm in this toxic like household. I'm not really getting anywhere. So I took the biggest decision of my entire life. I'm my only kid. I left home for the first time and lived in Arizona. So I lived there by myself. I read a bunch of like self-development books, dating books. I was dating a girl at the time in Hawaii, so we had this like long-term relationship. But I didn't I didn't see all like the red flags of being in this type of relationship. So the most pivotal point in my life was like she broke up with me during like Halloween like month. So like during that type of time frame, broke up, read a couple dating books. I was like, this can't be real. Like stuff that they're talking about, right? Like going out, approaching women, talking to girls, and then telling their stories basically. So I read a bunch of books and I just started like hitting the streets. And then I got very good 2 years in. I would go out almost every single day. We had this place called like Mill Avenue in Tempe.
Yeah.
And I would just like any person that I saw on the street, I just approach. So I'd just be like, hey, I thought you were beautiful. I have to come say hi. But it wasn't even just women. It was like people, older people, just getting good at like conversational skills, being able to pick up a conversation, getting into like basically being able to talk. And me being so like shy, introverted beforehand, I started to develop more like extroversion, being more good at conversations, just learning about like human dynamics, social dynamics. So I guess that's kind of like a long-winded background of my story, essentially.
Yeah.
I've just kind of been I'm really into psychology in itself and having something where I can apply like a lot of psychological techniques in the real world. Like,
Yeah.
we used to call it like going out in the field. You get to see a lot of like humanity on like a very like baseline micro level. So that's kind of like my story, I guess. And then here I am now, 5 to 6 years. I've trained over 250 plus guys, helping them with their dating lives, getting better at social skills, that type of aspect. And yeah, it's been successful overall. Just, I'm doing something I enjoy, something I love, and something that helps these guys that were in the same position as me.
Yeah, no, that's a great story. So in this day and age, Kwani, you're a young man, you're a millennial. I'm assuming you're, 28 to 30, 25 to
Yeah.
30 around there. So the podcast that I listen to, or I read books now, or I read articles, my God, it seems like the dating scene has changed where it seems the women now have the power because of social media, especially Instagram. When I see other podcasts and all that, uh, how does someone navigate through that as a male that doesn't have the status yet? Because it seems like women are looking for men that has status. That, what is it, that blue check mark on Instagram, whatever that check mark is.
Sure.
So how can a man be able to compete with that with a guy that has the status? You know what I'm saying? Does my question make any sense at all?
It does make sense at the same time. So the way that I looked at it now, like I look through a lot of dating through like pragmatism and realism. I think having the truth is the best thing that you could possibly have because you want stuff that actually works, right? So when it comes to like, say for example, like females who have like higher perceived value, like I'll break this down like piece by piece because it kind of like takes like concepts from like different types of stuff like economic society and stuff like that.
Sure.
But the thing is like if you look at specifically like first world country and American culture, the thing is that if you are like physically attractive or even just a female, you've already got kind of, in a weird way, you have like value baked into you, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
But
no,
that
it
comes
does.
down to, in a deeper level, the types of marketing that we see online, right? So like you see like a beautiful woman with like Brad Pitt and all this type of stuff. So you have this figure of this image of like what a woman should be like in our minds and planning. So women, some women who like believe only on their physical beauty have like they can develop like big egos about it. So they think that they are like, this valuable high status type of woman.
Yeah.
For guys, the thing is that if you want to actually succeed and become like a top 1% of guy that has like a lot of women around them, or whatever it is, or even if you're just trying to just be an attractive guy, the thing you should be aiming for is like figuring out like some sort of like persona that aligns with you, but having like a style that like women want to be attracted to, if that makes sense. So say for
Mhm.
example, like Brad Pitt or like Johnny Depp, you have like these guys who are just like in these films and these different movies, they're always surrounded by women and they have a certain style, they have a certain energy that they carry with them. What I end up trying to teach guys is like try and like replicate a similar style that is like that, but find something that is a little bit more alignment with yourself. So for example, for me, I'm like into like comedy. I love to like make I really like to enjoy like making women laugh. I like things where like I'm kind of a nerd at some aspects as well. Like I really love like psychology, reading about like nerdy topics like stuff like this. So but I'm gonna find women who are more alignment with me during doing
Mhm.
that. But by having a certain style, by being more charismatic, by being more confident, I'll be able to kind of like hook people in to kind of like want to talk to me or get to know me. And I think as a guy, what you should be also be developing in value is you should be developing your physical fitness. A lot of this stuff in like self-development related. Physical fitness, overcoming your personal trauma when it comes down to like, how you feel about yourself, what you view about yourself as a person. It should also come like hygiene, working out, should also becoming just educating yourself, learning,
Mhm.
being knowledgeable. That's something that's also valuable too as well. And just like carrying yourself in a way that like other people respect you, you respect yourself, and women also respect you as well. So
Yeah.
it's like a very like layered answer for sure.
No, no, but
But
it makes sense. Where we talked about Instagram dating. Let's put it that way. But you have developing your own style, like you said, you like to make women laugh and all that. I'm kind of the same way as you. As an older gentleman, I like to just show my personality. Where before I restricted myself. Where when I was probably your age, and even when I got into my mid 30s, 40s, and late 40s, I still hid a little bit. It wasn't until, geez, once I hit my 50s, I realized, you know what? The hell with this. This is me, and now I even tell women, that I smoke weed, and if take it or leave it. That's it. If drugs is an issue with you, then that's on you. I'm not
100%.
changing. And I like also, like I said, show your personality. Like we say, you're developing your own style. You show your personality. And one of the biggest things I get from the conversation right now is get in shape. Take care of yourself. You know, I think that's the biggest thing, is taking care of your physical fitness. Because first of all, you're going to feel good about yourself, and then other people, especially women, are going to see that and go, "So wow, this guy takes care of himself, and he's
Hmm.
young, he's old, or whatever." So
Yeah.
I love, to me, those 3 points. To me, those are the three biggest points I got so far. I know you got more, but so one of the things that I didn't develop again till later is setting boundaries.
Correct.
uh how can a man set boundaries and not have the fear of losing that woman, because he sees her maybe as the end all be all, or maybe he doesn't have the confidence he can get someone else? How do we keep up those boundaries? Or let's go the extra, have balls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have
So,
balls and trying to just it can get very deep, but what you would want to do if you want to establish boundaries, first of all, it comes down to like a very root thing. So like very deep
yeah,
in like your own personal psychology as a person.
right.
So the first thing you want to always do when you develop boundaries is you want to have like self-respect for yourself. Because if you
Mhm.
don't have self-respect, if you don't think that you are valuable as a person, you will never be able to set something that you believe that you deserve, if that makes
Right.
sense. So
Yep.
you need to have self-respect about yourself. You need to like, love yourself. That's the first thing. And that you should develop boundaries based on things that are valuable to you, but you should only do them in a way where like if you feel like yourself, if you feel like you're disrespected in a way that like, harms like who you are as a person, like your overall like personality of who you are in yourself, then I feel like it's healthy to establish some sort of boundary in that aspect. So like say for example, I don't tolerate when people like disrespect me as a person. Like I'll
Mhm.
leave, I'll like leave a conversation if I feel like I'm dating a girl that doesn't know how to like treat me well as a person. I'll leave because I value myself as a person. I'm not gonna take more time out of my life, and I'm even though I'm like 27, I feel very old. Just like being out in the field, training a bunch of different guys, just seeing a lot of different stuff throughout my short lifetime that I've been here. But like, I'm not gonna take the time because I value myself as a person to be like, yeah, let's like make sure we work this out. And she still keeps disrespecting me like the third, fourth time, second time, first time, whatever it is. I'm just a leave. Like you realize that like the whole world, like there's 8 billion people on this planet. And
Right.
like you're not supposed to date everybody. I don't think that's healthy. But like
Yeah.
at least like 1% or like a very small percentage, there is a handful of girls that you can actually like connect with on a very, very highly deep level.
Right.
So understanding that you have to live in the mindset of also of abundance, understanding that there's more options out there as well.
Right.
Even when you talk about boundaries, not necessarily in the context of dating, but even like friendships, like you have a friend who's just like an asshole to you all the time. You have a friend who just like you gotta tell people like one time like, hey, can you stop like doing this? Like if they're in like your house, right, and like say for example like taking out the trash or like some sort of like small menial problem that you're discussing with your friend, right, you're having like an
Right.
argument around, could you like do this please, because it just as respectfully as a friend, could you do this, and then you
Right.
just ask nicely and then they overstep it again. It's just like you got to develop a boundary for yourself. But I know I'm rambling a little bit. Everything
No,
comes
no.
back to basically just having self-respect for yourself. Once you have self-respect for yourself, then you can ask for more things. And once you have value within yourself, like something you can provide to other people, say for example like knowledge, good energy, making people feel good, there's just like value in the sense of like you could provide something to somebody, then you can ask for basically what you want out of your life, if that makes sense.
No, it definitely does. I think it's the biggest thing is just having self-respect, like you said, and valuing ourselves. And I know I went through that where I didn't value myself and all that. And then I, slowly but surely saw how the woman was acting towards me. The lack of respect was there. So and I want the guys to know that it happens to whether you're young or old. If you don't value yourself, you don't set boundaries. Some women will walk over you and they don't care, because you're letting it happen.
Hmm.
Um, so Koani, moving forward, so when you're coaching some of these young men, uh, are they coming from an avenue of they lack self-respect, or they figured that that you have to look like Brad Pitt or George Clooney to get the girl? So when you do coaching, when you do talk to young men, how did they come into the door and talk to you? Like what's some of the things that you have to deal with?
I
That
for
was long-winded, sorry.
It's all good. So excuse me. So every single guy that I train, I keep it very personalized. So that's kind of like the difference with me. Like I said, I know I'm gonna repeat myself very often. I know
No, no,
100%
that's
because I just
fine. No,
talk all the
no,
time.
that's
But
fine.
like I said, I'm a very big psychology nerd, so I use that a lot to kind of, as my strong suit to kind of, really get deep with these guys and trying to figure out what trauma they're going through and stuff like that.
Sure.
So I like to visualize it as a spectrum. So you have guys on like the lower end who are like complete beginners at this. Like they're the type of guy that's like super shy, quiet. Like, oh my
Mhm.
God, I can't do approach it. And like I tell them to kind of approach somebody who's like, go do it. And it's not like, I don't think I can. And like they're in their brain overthinking it so much, really, really just
Yeah.
getting to like an overthinking state and like very anxious and nervous. So that's on like one end. Then on the opposite end, and you have the guy who's like a killer, super good with women, great when it comes to talking with people, super charismatic and confident. But there's like a lot of deep rooted seated problems of him like on an internal level that he's trying to process and go through. So like you can get a lot of like external results per se, but like on the inside, he's not too sure about himself. He doesn't know like who he is as a person and that type of aspect. So on the one hand, the beginner level, he is kind of, I have to talk with these guys and trying to figure out like, hey, where are you at right now? What do you want to kind of accomplish? Where are you going through? And then we kind of like discuss and talk about like, hey, what are your sticking points? Like what is going wrong with, you approaching, or like where can we kind of like fix like small tiny types of avenues. I think it's a lot easier to do 1% of something. So like, I always give them the basic stuff. Is just like, if you're addicted to porn, stop watching porn. if
Yeah,
you
right.
if you have a hard time talking with people, go out in the field and just talk to like five random strangers, hold like a 5 minute conversation. If you don't like your body, just start working out, go like run for like 5, 20 minutes a day, 30 minutes a day, or just like lift weights, like do like 5 reps of like a very small weight.
Yeah.
I try to just build these guys up piece by piece. Because if you start throwing everything at once, that's going to be a major problem. Because then
Mhm.
again, they're already overthinking, right? They're
Yeah.
overwhelmed. You give them everything, they'll be like, oh my God, I can't do all this type of stuff like at once. So that's how I learned. I had to do it piece by piece as well. I got good at like approaching like one or two people. And then eventually from there, I got good at approaching five. And then at some point, I just like went off the rails and like got very crazy and would just approach like almost every day. But I got very good at practicing my skill set of talking, conversating, keep a conversation going, that type of stuff.
Right. No, I like that. And it's funny though, and we're talking with Koani Requilman. I got your last name right again, right?
You did, yes.
Requilman. And he's a relationship, I would say relationship expert, man. I mean, because you're breaking it down to the nitty-gritty from A to Z to get the guys their confidence and things like that. Do you I guess do you use social media, or you have your students use social media to reach out to someone through Instagram or dating apps? Me personally, I'm not a fan of dating apps, but I'd rather meet someone live, whether it's at a social event, business
Sure.
event, or whatever.
Mhm.
I function better that way. But if do you start them off maybe with dating apps and reaching out to a woman, hey, how you doing? What's going on? Because I always see when I do look at some of these social media posts, woman is at a beach somewhere, the guys will go, hey, beautiful, things like that. It doesn't, there's no thought to it.
Mhm.
Does that make sense? Do you make sure that the guys, if they do online approaching, that they structure in a way that could start a conversation?
Yeah, of
Does that make
course.
sense? Yeah.
Yes, I think you need to have both. Like, especially in this day and age, internet, like technology is incredibly advancing incredibly fast. Like we have things like
Yeah.
AI and like, if you ever heard about, this might be a little bit off topic, but like Neuralink, for example, like
Okay.
there
I
Elon Musk
heard of
is trying.
that. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, so technology is going to be here to stay. Like it's here. It's going to grow rapidly, incredibly fast. So you not having to be able to capitalize on like a phone,
Yeah.
utilizing this as a tool, you're basically kind of like lowering your chances of odds in dating, essentially.
Right.
But what I always train guys to first start off is get good at approaching first. Once you can
Mm.
develop charisma, once you start getting that positive feedback loop of talking to people in person, you can see it in real time that like, I am progressing, I can see results. This is something that is real. Like the first time when I read like a couple books on dating, I was the same way. Like I had this limiting belief in my head. I'm like, this can't be real. Like whatever they're talking about just sounds like bullshit, to be honest. But I actually read it, went out on the field, tried it, and saw it happen in real time within like the first day or 3 days. So I'm like, oh my God, this actually has some substance. This actually showcases some form of result. So I train guys on this, and then once they get good at talking to women in person, then you can kind of like capitalize on using this Instagram, Tinder, whatever it is, to
Right.
leverage to be able to get more dates, to be able to, create a bigger social circle. So you got to have both. You have to have both. If you're going to be missing the online stuff and just doing in-person stuff, sure, you'll be able to kind of be able to talk with a lot of people, make a lot of network connections, date a lot of different women, but your reach will never be as big as this thing. So, yeah.
Right. So you suggest doing both, maybe go to social events if you can, but also utilize, like you said, Tinder, Instagram, Facebook, whatever it is, to meet someone. Because
Correct.
which makes sense because you are spreading yourself out there, and yeah, because there is a huge world out there, especially, well, I'm from New York, so there's so many events going on, and it's amazing how pretty much 5, 6, 7 days out of the week you can find an event to go to if you really put your mind to it.
Yeah.
So so one of the things I want to touch base on is approaching someone, like you touched on earlier. You see a woman, you're at, whether it's a park, or I mean, is there situations where it's the right time to approach someone, or are we waiting for online or social events? You're in the grocery store, you're at Walmart, whatever. Is it okay to approach someone there? They're there shopping, they got their headphones on, but you see someone you're attracted to. I'm like, man, I got to say something. All right, I'm putting you up. All right, Koani, what do you think?
It really, I think the best thing that can help guys if they're getting over like the anxiety of trying to approach. I
Yeah.
think the most important thing that you should be focusing on is being contextually aware. So having
Okay.
some form of self-awareness, like we call it like label different things. It's called like social calibration, self-awareness,
Yeah.
contextually aware. Like if you're in an environment, you gotta understand like what type of environment you are for you to be,
Mm.
respectfully approaching in a nightclub, approaching on the street, and approaching in a library are completely different environments. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
So
right,
like, so you
right.
can't like go to a club and be like, or you can't go to a library and start grinding on a girl and like that's like normal. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
So best thing you can possibly do is like be in front of the person. Have a face-to-face conversation like we're having right now.
Yeah.
Just respectfully. Hey, I thought like good example is like, hi, my name is Koani. I thought you're cute. I had to come say hi, and then pay attention to like the vibe and the energy itself. Like you'd be surprised. A lot of people are very receptive to like somebody talking to them, but you also got to think about like, where are they at in their day? Are they in the middle of like going to work? Are they in the middle of like some sort of important errand? So you got to like pay attention to those types of things in the conversation itself. But probably the most important thing is just pay attention to the vibe of the person. Do they feel uncomfortable or do they feel open? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And then
yeah,
you kind
yeah.
of modify from there. It's kind of like the best way I like to go about it. So that should be the main focus. Just approach, in a respectful way. I've definitely, yeah, like in the past wasn't very like self-aware because I know what I'm talking about because like in the beginning too as well. A lot of beginners they're not socially self-aware. Like they just
Right.
kind of just focus, but then they
Yeah.
don't pay attention to everything else around them. What type of environment they're in. Is the person okay? Reading body language. A lot of communication is itself is just like sub communication. So like the vibe and the energy of what you mean, plus also just like 80% of actual communication is body language, and 20% is anything verbal, and then physical as well. But like a lot of it is going to be body language. So understanding that kind of like saves your ass in a lot of situations, if that makes
No,
sense.
it does. So in other words, if someone just happens to cross their arms, all right, now I guess I'm staying away because they're putting up a barrier. Do I read into that? Or if they face you face to face, that means that they're open to the comment. Again, I'm riffing here. Or if they looking at you from the side, if we read those body languages, are they telling us something? Somebody just happens to close, has their arm crossed, someone's actually face to face, or someone's just looking from you from the side. uh how should we interpret that?
So it could mean something. It's always better as a beginner that to look at a optimistic viewpoint. So like
Okay.
believing like, hey, like this person wants to talk to me, and having that mindset. Because a lot of these guys, if they go backwards and they're super shy and they're just like, they don't want to talk to me and stuff like that, they're gonna
Right.
start receding and or receding away and running away and like a
Yeah.
little rat or something. But
Yeah.
but like comedy, like especially if somebody is defensive like that, yeah, for sure. Like they're kind of the reasoning behind that is because one, they don't trust you, and two, you're just a stranger walking up to them. They don't know you, right?
Right,
So
right,
you
right.
have to present value in the short time frame that you're in, like maybe like 30 seconds to like a minute of whatever time before somebody can like completely lock you out and like be cold.
Yeah.
So comedy, get to know somebody. Hey, how are you doing? Like, how's your day been? Stuff like that. As soon as people can feel that warm energy off of you, more likely than not, they're going to be able to start being less defensive and be more open,
Mm.
willing to listen. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
at the end of the day, like a lot of this is kind of like deep psychology. If you have something valuable that people need to know about you, then yes, of course they're going to want to talk to you, right?
Yeah.
It's like anything. Like say for example, you've had this happen many times. I wouldn't be surprised. You're walking through a mall. There's like a sales guy. Hey, check this out. Blah blah blah. But what makes the difference between good
Yeah.
salespeople and bad salespeople? They talk about you. They talk about what you want, but
Yeah.
more importantly, they can demonstrate something of value that is interesting, that is like captivating, that has something that could help them within their lives.
Yeah.
Divide, apply those same concepts in a lot of like dating and stuff like that. Of course, you're gonna have good quality women coming attracted to your life. You're gonna
Yeah.
have good positive friendships and stuff like that. But you always provide in that aspect.
No, I definitely like that because it's true. You always have salespeople approaching you, but yeah, you could separate the good ones from the bad ones. First of all, Koani, I want to thank you so much for being on People on Dating. I really appreciate it. And before I let you go, just a couple more things. Anything you want to talk about? I know you mentioned some books. Can you recommend some books that someone could start with, and then we get into your website and things like that?
Yeah, for sure. So I would recommend the best book that you could start off with getting the dating is No More Mr. Nice Guy by
Mm,
Robert Glover.
yeah.
A lot of beginners, a lot of guys, especially like you guys that are watching, you're struggling with essentially kind of just like developing some form of self-confidence with yourself. So
Right.
like it kind of goes over like nice guy behavior, like being friendly, too nice, not having any backbone, not being able to have any bite or confidence in, you know, who you are as a person. So
Yeah.
I highly recommend that book. And that's one book I would recommend. You can follow me on my Instagram, Coach Koani Requilman. And then if you are interested as well, I do like free dating game plans, 30-minute dating game plans I give to
Oh,
you
okay.
completely for free. Or I also do as well, like I show you like different methods for free, like how to get like 10 plus dates within 30 days or less. So you're
Oh,
more than
wow.
welcome
Okay.
to kind of book a call. I'll link it below. I'm not too sure of on this YouTube video, but like, you know, it's in the link of my bio on my Instagram.
Yeah.
Check it out, book a call. More than happy to kind of give you something for free that you can take with you that you can utilize and, you know, utilize in your dating life overall.
Yeah. No, I'll definitely put that in the show notes. And tell us that website one more time.
So that would be KwaniRequilman.com. So
All
that would
right.
be my website as well too.
Well, sounds good. Well, again, Koani, I appreciate so much you taking time out of your busy schedule to talk to people on dating. I really, really appreciate
Thank you.
it. Bye bye.